and welcome to the Glacially Musical Podcast. It is the biggest eyeballs in the world. Beer, metal, swearing. A ghost call joint. I am staring at myself in the mirror. Of course, I am joined by my good friend, a man who's always ready for some pegging, somebody to put a pencil in the hole, turn it around. Keefy Cassettes. How we doing today, buddy?
This is not my first experience with pegging, friendo, but it is for Marvel.
Disney. First
Oh,
for
sorry, Disney. That's right.
Lots
Damn
of
it.
spoilers. I am going to spoil Deadpool. I'm spoiling Deadpool, and I'm
I-
spoiling it.
I didn't stick the landing. We kind of reviewed Deadpool already a little bit last week.
I don't know if we reviewed it as much as we loved it.
That's
Which,
fair.
if you haven't seen Deadpool, why are you listening to us?
Yeah, it should be at the movie theater right now.
Correct. I mean, this is on demand, literally. I mean, you can just do this however the hell you want. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us this week. It is Metallica Part Sigma. I forget what number we're on. It is Garage Days revisited and the death of Cliff Burton. So, to quote the greatest musical of all time, the Book of Mormon, this is the part of the story where it gets very sad. I believe it is the last part of the story that gets sad that we will be doing. However, it'll also get very angry next week. So, sad this week, angry next week. Hooray!
I mean, I hope not. I don't want to be.
No, it's angry
but-
times. Angry times. We'll talk about it next week. I'm teasing my next week anger.
Okay.
For those of us joining us, for those of you joining us for the first time, thank you very much. We appreciate you giving us an opportunity to fill your ear holes with our delight. This week and every week we have our greeting, our beer check, vinyl check, news check, shirt check, meat of the day. Today's meat at my house was a tuna steak marinated in teriyaki, sesame oil, and olive oil. And it was delicious, and I will never go without tuna steaks in my house again. My beer check this week is an Urban Chestnut Brewing Company. What am I drinking, Keefy?
I have no idea.
Oh, you were supposed to say Stalipa, and then I was going to pull a McLaughlin group and yell, wrong! But you didn't do it. Maybe you just don't know what Stalipa is, and, that's fine, because you don't live here.
I mean, I drank one.
Did you?
I drank one.
I don't remember. If you only had one, then you did it wrong. You should have like 10.
That's your fault. You were the host. You have to ensure the good time.
Oh, now it's my fault.
I'm a tourist. What do I know? You're the local. You're the local
You've
guide.
seen me drink.
Are you not a local expert on Google? And you used to be a famous food blogger in St. Louis? Like, well,
I don't know about famous, but
putting this back on me.
I'm muting myself. I'm unmuting myself. This week it is.
For those not watching this, you just missed out on a golden moment. But continue your beer check, sir. I'll shut up.
May I? Can I have the sanctity of my spot? Yeah. Stay muted. I said stay muted. We are Amtrak in minute 4. OCAT's Oktoberfest. It is only August. It is not Oktoberfest time. But goddamn, I love a Marzen. Get my finger fudge pour, and welcome to all our returning finger fudgers, and welcome back to our returning finger fudgers, and welcome to it, our new finger fudgers.
All right, that was a hell of a pop. Guess what I have? Because we're already not off the rails enough. I have a beer check. I'm gonna drink an Oskar Blues Dales because I deserve one. It's been a tough week. So Shazam! On the finger fudge
Shazam!
pour. And to not wait for the remember when we first started doing these and we waited for the foam to settle while fans lost their minds and clicked off this thing? Cheers.
Yeah, no. Cheers. It's not cold enough yet.
Old mother. Oh, this thing's freezing. Old mother.
That's
glory.
unfortunate. Well, I got this out of like the not cold section because I was in a hurry. I wasn't going to stop. Dinner this evening was risotto. And I had not, and I don't know if anybody knows, but risotto takes a while. So I did my grocery shopping on my lunch break today. And then I realized on the way out the door, oh crap, I have no olive oil. I have no cooking olive oil. So had to stop at the store again. I'm like, well, if I'm stopping at the store, I'm getting beer because that's the rule. I don't know how else to live. If I go to the grocery store, I get beer. Personal reward. Anyway, so my vinyl check this week, I got a twofer. Step one, or record one, soon to be, this is friend of the show, Left Lane Cruiser. They are friends with 20 Watt Tombstone, friend of the show. This is Bayport Barbecue Blues. I'm happy to say that Sausage Paw is back in the band on the drums. Him and Freddie JY the Fourth doing their cool brand of Fort Wayne, Indiana blues. And oh, look at that! Can you see that, Keefy? What's that sticker? What's that sticker right there? That right there. Can you see that sticker?
I really can't see the sticker now.
That is a Montucky Cold Snack sticker.
That's
on Freddie's guitar.
I do love that beer.
Not a big fan myself. I got this on Amazon on day of around $25. Nothing special. My other record of the week. Remember how about a month and a half ago I pulled out a Stevie Ray Vaughan record and said, wow, I don't have any Stevie Ray Vaughan records?
And you were missing the good one.
And then 5 weeks ago I pulled out another one. And then 4 weeks ago I pulled out another one.
And last week you had one, so now you have another one.
I got another one. Stevie Ray Vaughan in Double Trouble.
That's the
Texas
important
Flood.
one. That's
no, it is not. Not for Nick.
Oh, all right.
Not for Nick. My favorite is In Step, which I don't have. But I got this on Discogs. Unfortunately, I did not read real closely. One of the this side 2's got a bit of a scratch on it. It still plays, but it's squiffy. Fortunately, it's not during like Pride and Joy or Love Struck Baby. So I mean, you know, the high quality of this record is still preserved. But one more, and I have everything Stevie Ray Vaughan released during his lifetime.
Maybe before you get that next one, you read the Discogs a little more carefully.
My personal brand, is to completely screw up ordering things online. I once got freaked out because I saw Panzer Dragoon Saga, which Panzer Dragoon Saga, for those of you that don't know, is one of the most sought after Sega Saturn games. At the time, it went for the princely sum of $95, which in 1999, 2000, that's crazy. It now goes for $5, $6, $7, up to $1,000 I've seen. I had a copy, but I hated it, so I got rid of it. And really not a good game. So I quickly ordered this on eBay. And then it said no case. I'm like, okay, fine, I can deal with no case. I just want to play the game. And it showed up, and it wasn't Panzer Dragoon Saga. It was Panzer Dragoon for Sega. That E made a big difference. I already had Panzer Dragoon.
Ruin a word with one letter. Saga or Sega?
Yeah, completely changed.
Pink Floyd or Pink Flood?
Ooh. Alrighty, I'm gonna shut up now.
When the Mr. Bubble overflows in the bathtub and gets all over the apartment. So, I have a vinyl.
All right, Tony Maselli. Where's he from? Where's
Angela.
Tony Maselli from?
Oh!
Where's Tony Maselli from?
Who's the boss? Who's the boss? Me? You? Who?
I believe he's from Brooklyn. Hey, yo, oh, way, Angela.
I mean, sounds like he's from Brooklyn. He might not be.
Actually, it might have been the Bronx.
Alyssa Milano is from Staten Island. She was the next door neighbor of the drummer of my first band. And oh my goodness.
New York is the biggest small town in the world. Everybody knows everybody up there.
Speaking of, well, save it for the news check, but I have some New York news. Of course I do.
Thank Christ.
Vinyl, thank goodness Keith's going to talk about his hometown one more time. I'm really excited for this vinyl check. This is a record I always wanted on vinyl, and I did not have until last year on Record Store Day Black Friday, and that is I Wrestled a Bear Once. It's all happening. You know where that line comes from.
If you said that to me in the real world...
Get bent. What real world are you talking about? Anyway, so I Wrestled a Bear Once. This was their critical big album. For those that don't know, in the era before your Callous Dowboys and your math metal genre blending bands, Iwabo was one of the first, and kind of like a later day Mr. Bungle or Dillinger Escape Plan. And members of this band and their final singer, not the singer on this album, went on to become the current band Spirit Box, which you know. And
great band.
Great track listing on this record. You Ain't No Family, Whitewater in the Morning, Danger in the Manger, I'm Cold and There Are Wolves After Me, Tastes Like Kevin Bacon, their big hit single, The Cat's Pajamas, Pazuzu for the Win, Black Eyed Bush, Eli Cash versus the Godless Savages, and See You in Shell. And this came with new artwork. This has a very fun lyric sheet and a little biography of the band, a little story time. I have it upside down because I'm awesome. And lyrics, because you needed lyrics. You needed to follow the lyrics to know what this shit was about. And on a very funky blue vinyl, I have the already in the mylar, already spinned, already played with the strip. Metalcore with a unique twist features You Ain't No Family, Taste Like Kevin Bacon, and as featured in Rock Band 2 Unlimited colored vinyl. And so I'm not sure what color this is. You're going to have to educate me.
Do my best.
What color do you think this is?
That is a violet. Violet. You're turning violet, Violet.
It's very dark, very deep.
That's a violet. That's definitely violet.
My mother would be proud. She'd love that.
My copy of The Police Synchronicity was the very first like violet pressing like that. It's so dark that if you don't put it in the light, you can't see that it's violet. It looks just black.
I approve.
Now tell me, for the love of God, with that band's love of the pun, that they have toured with the Tony Danza Tap Dance Extravaganza.
I saw Tony Danza's Tap Dance Extravaganza open for I Wrestled a Bear Once.
There we go. Can I just point out real quick?
Also, I did not show Through the Eyes of the Dead and OTEP. Weird lineup. What a weird show.
Thank you. Sanctity of my sanctity of my interruption, sir. We did not plan this ahead of time. This is all off the cuff. The fact that Tony Danza has come up twice now makes this the greatest episode we've ever done.
Oh, Angela. And every meme that is Danzig, but it's Tony Danza's face with the Danzig hair.
I have not seen that, but I am now going to be here for it.
You will be. I'll send it to you right after this. So that's my final check. I think that might conclude the Record Store Day Black Friday choices, which means I only have a few more to get through 2023 to catch up to 24.
Are you aware that it's August?
It is hopeless, but at least I still have
it is
to check.
August, and we're still checking 23.
Well, that's me, and you are much more, well-off and voracious a purchaser than I can be. So good.
I don't know. Your November seemed to be a little bit better than the rest of my year.
Well, I did get quite a bunch in November. I went on a spree in November, but I think I hadn't bought much that year, and then November I went hog. So ham.
So I'm gonna quick news check one vinyl thing, and I'm gonna be checking this down the road. MC Chris's. There's gonna be 5 MC Chris records that are going to be completely repressed and re-released. With new covers, new colors. The first one is MC Chris is Dead, which is the first MC Chris record I got into contemporarily, and it's probably one of the worst records that he released on vinyl because it's only got a quarter. It's a double disc. It's like 80 minutes, but most of the record is not there on vinyl. So that's what makes it terrible. So I bought that. That is out now. You can get that. I got it on Discogs. Got that coming in. I'll be checking it in about a month or so. But keep an eye out for that. The thing is, MC Chris is not publicizing this. So I was just kind of going through Discogs the other day and I came across it. So I know there's going to be 4 more. I don't know what the 4 are. It's on a very small label. If you give me 88 seconds, I can let you know. But MC Chris is Dead is probably my favorite MC Chris record. It was his 5th album. It's on Say 10. What is it? Say 10 Skateboard Records. Yeah, Say 10 releases, and there are a few colors of each one. There are plenty. It's the Biohazard, the bundle, or the Zombie Splatter. There are plenty of versions of each one, so you can definitely get it. So you won't have to pay the $90 for half of the album, if that is something that you are into, which I think I am well on record of being big into nerdcore. Should mention my next bit of news, and I'll try to go quickly on this as best as I can. Lawyer wife and I were in Las Vegas, Nevada this past weekend. We had a great time. We went to the Princess Diana exhibit. That was amazing. I'm not a monarchist like she is. I don't know if she's a monarchist as much as she just loves the princessy stuff. So, and we bought VIP tickets apparently. So we got a free Diana wine glass. So be envious of that. It's going to be going up on the the calyxes so people can see because I don't drink wine. Excuse me. We also went to the Mob Museum. And the thing about the Mob Museum is I found it quite disappointing. Now, that is because I am the kind of person that has a PhD from YouTube University in many things that I enjoy. So basically all of the stories, all of the narrative they were trying to tell, I kind of already knew. They did have the St. Valentine's Day Massacre wall. The wall was reconstructed by a Canadian with the original bricks, and now they have it. So I got to see like where the bullet holes and the blood was, and it's kind of gross. I did get to see Al Capone's personal .38 special. Looked like a Lone Ranger pistol with the ivory handle and all silver and kind of stuff like that. But I was hoping for more like artifacts, less narrative. You know, talk more about the five families. There was almost nothing about the five families in their museum. It was all about just Vegas, which I mean I get because I was in Vegas. This, of course, was in downtown Las Vegas, old-timey Las Vegas, where the Golden Nugget Binions is. Speaking of Binions, that is where I went for a steak. Got a $75 ribeye at Top of Binions. Let me say, the salad my wife had was amazing. The bread they brought out was terrific. The mashed potatoes next to my steak was awesome. And the steak was so subpar.
I don't understand why you would have went to, of all places, Binions to get that steak.
What's wrong with Binions?
For the steak. Like, why would you go to Binions for the steak when there's Golden Steer? Granted, you need reservations long in advance.
We got reservations 6 months ago.
There's so many great steak places.
I wanted to go somewhere in downtown Vegas. I wanted to go to old-timey Vegas.
Golden Steer is there. It's the greatest steakhouse
I didn't see Golden Steer. But anyway, that's where I went, and I've decided, actually, I'm going to stop trying to get steak out of the Midwest. I'm just going to, you know what? Lobster tastes better on the coast, and steak tastes better in the Midwest.
Crab only tastes good in San Francisco and Maine and Boston. These are in Maryland. That's all.
I will still say the shrimp I had in Baltimore is like one of the greatest seafood days I've ever had in my life, and I couldn't believe it was just like breaded. Really just breaded shrimp. I mean, it was like breaded, deep-fried shrimp. It was nothing special. It was delicious. So that was my Vegas trip. Last night, the wife and I took in Melissa Etheridge and the Indigo Girls. I shockingly do not know any Indigo Girl songs. I completely missed out on it, and I see why after having seen them. It is totally not my jam. One of the singers did an amazing country song from her country records project. And I loved that. It was very much anti-Confederacy, anti-Southern pride of the treason rag, because the Stars and Bars, that is literally from a hostile country that fought a war against the United States. If you carry that, or if you carry this flag from you know where in that middle part of Germany.
Well, fun fact, that flag was appropriated. That was actually the flag of unionized miners in West Virginia, and it was co-opted after the war. It was not really the symbol of the Confederacy people think it is, as much as it. Yeah, it was co-opted by.
That was the battle flag of Virginia.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm saying that like where it came from originally, as well as redneck.
Yeah, redneck is about unions.
Union miners, miners trying to unionize in West Virginia wore red kerchiefs to stand out in the darkness of the coal mine, and that's where redneck came from.
Well, I will say I've heard that's one of the theories, and it's my favorite, so it's true. Confirmation bias is not a thing apparently in my world. Where was I? Oh yes. Now Melissa Etheridge, she opened the show unfortunately because I wanted her to go on second because that was the part of the show I was really looking forward to. Lawyer wife and I saw her years ago at the Sheldon, which is a very tiny venue because Neil Young was playing down the street at the Fox, which is where she should have been playing, a 5,000 seater. And she blew the doors off that place. And this time was even better. I wouldn't say I'm a Melissa Etheridge fan. I do love the blues record she put out. She put out a blues record in like 2018, 2019 that's truly amazing. And she played no songs off of that. She did do some reworkings of some of her old songs in a Chicago blues style, which suits her voice wonderfully. She has that gravelly voice. Learned last night she's also from Kansas. She is from Leavenworth, Kansas. I did not know that. And her father is from St. Louis. So that was kind of cool family history. And this time was different than last time because she played electric guitar probably 80% of the songs, rather than last time when she played electric guitar 30% of the songs. And then when she did play electric guitar, it wasn't 12 strings. She only played a 6-string guitar at the last show for one song. And in this show, she was playing a 6-string for most of the show. And instead of having the pickup selector in the middle, she had it on the bridge pickup to give that, more crunchier sound, which just made the music she played much more my speed. So if there was ever a Melissa Etheridge show for me, it was last night, and it was great. I mean, truly great. Also, I'm going to mention my child because we were listening to her copy of The Doors self-titled today. And I did thank her for the contribution to the Sitting Room record collection. And she said, wait, what? No, give it back. And I said, give what back? And lawyer wife said, Nick, give it back. And I walked away without saying anything. That's my news.
Poor Nick trying to steal his child's records. Unbelievable.
No, I'm trying to steal a singular record that she hoodwinked from me before I had an opportunity to purchase it.
No, I don't know.
She could have gotten the repress and it would have been fine.
Seems very questionable, your story. Two related things related to both your Melissa Etheridge review and our episode today on Metallica. MC Chris also on tour right now across America.
Yes, he is currently touring on I thought the last tour was the last tour.
That's a great name.
Which is the greatest, I'm sorry I'm coming back on tour that I've ever heard. I would have gone to the show as my best friend Kevin was going, but we were in Chicago to see the Stones that weekend.
And then to start my proper news, I just did a live stream last night where I did the companion review of my experience of Woodstock 94. Why is that important, do you say? Why is it important, Keefy? One of the reviews and people I saw at Woodstock 94 is Melissa Etheridge, and the other important one to this show is Metallica everything. So
I've heard of both of those artists.
You might have heard of both those. You've seen both those artists in person. So if you're interested in either Woodstock 94 or 99, there are now full episodes on Ghost Cult's YouTube channel where you can check those out and have me recollect the festivals, including set lists and every band I saw, basically, on either festival, and my whole thoughts and feelings on the disastrous Woodstock 1999. 94, much more enjoyable. Not a whole lot of news going on this week, but I thought it was interesting to note that there are a lot of there's just a lot of nostalgia right now. So if you had a band out with a lot of vinyl back or things that never got put out on vinyl, that's a big thing right now. A lot of bands are trying to do remember that band we had back 30 years ago? We're doing that now. So I do think there's a lot.
Speaking of that, Story of the Year from St. Louis is touring right now.
They are touring right now. That is correct. I didn't know you were a fan.
I am not a fan. One of the hosts of the Rizzuto show was the original guitar player. And I saw last night they were playing at the venue we were at, which is the St. Louis Music Park, which is part of the Centene Ice Center. Neat venue. It's a hockey rink, except you don't sit long ways on the hockey rink. So the stage is at the red line on the wide side, and then the seating goes out that way.
Fair enough. Just a quick lightning round. Recently announced and upcoming new vinyl reissues. We just had a recent release, an episode we did. I think I might have mentioned this like a month ago. It's out now. Ministries, Their Rock is Not Our Rock by Fireball Ministry. Fireball Ministry, not just Ministry. Fireball Ministry. Previous Glacially musical subject and guest on the show, Emily Burton. Their Rock is Not Our Rock, out now on Ripple Music. I believe it's remastered and reissued. Very cool. I believe we're getting a new record from them next year. We'll have to buy it and review it in real time. Also,
amazing band, and again, thank you, Emily, for gracing us with your presence.
Oh, yeah.
The rebuttal episodes are the best. We've only got one.
The rebuttal episode so far, that is the best one. Violent Femmes is doing a 40th anniversary reissue of their classic Hallowed Ground. Rough live, but a great band. I also saw Woodstock 94. I've been talking a lot about the punk rock reissues like SSD. Local H, not sure if you're a fan, Chicago band.
Thank you. That was the band from Metallica that I couldn't remember last week. It's Local H. They were the unsigned band that won the opening slot.
That's interesting. Local H, Whatever Happened to PJ Soul's album and anniversary tour with Helmet. But their Whatever Happened to PJ Soul's remastered vinyl bundles out for pre-sale now. And since Stray Cats are on tour right now, and Ghost Cult just covered them, Brian Setzer Orchestra's 3 classic albums, if such a thing exists, are also getting deluxe anniversary vinyl reissues. And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. That's all my news.
I actually recently subjected the child to Stray Cats Strut. And the response I got was, "Who hurt you?" And, I can kind of understand. I mean, that song is not... And when that song came out, I was very young. And that was when I still believed that all songs were true. It wasn't much later after that album that I remember thinking to myself, my God, I wish the Beastie Boys weren't criminals. I wish they didn't shoot people. They don't shoot people. I'm going to rock my shirt check now. Who is the guitar player that brought classical into the metal?
Oh, please don't say Yngwie Malmsteen.
Randy Rhoads.
Oh, thank God. Actually, technically, it's Richie Blackmore, but okay, sure. And Edward Van Halen, but okay, sure.
I'm going with Randy Rhoads.
And Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page. But
I'm not familiar with most of those people that you just mentioned. Who are those guys?
Totally are familiar. Come on.
I have only seen all but one live besides Randy. No. I have not seen Yngwie. I'd like to see Yngwie, but he doesn't do band tours anymore. He does Buckethead tours, except with talking. And I think the last thing I want at an Yngwie Malmsteen show is for him to put his guitar down and talk to me. I just can't imagine anything worse than that.
I think he's pretty gross. Anyhow, cool shirt, by the way, bro.
Thank you. I got it in Rockford. I think it's a bootleg. I don't think any shirts in that place were licensed.
It's the hometown of Cheap Trick. And,
but I mean, the entire Rhoads family. I mean, who owns that estate anyway? Really?
The sister now.
There's a sister.
A sister and a brother. I have a fun shirt. No one has commented on my white shirt on this show, but I am wearing a white T-shirt.
Oh my God, Keefy, your shirt is the wrong color. I'm sorry. It's white.
Oh, my credibility.
It looks like you're naked because you're so pale.
That's gross. All my credibility is out the window with this white T-shirt. I am wearing, this is a Green Day shirt from their coffee company, now rebranded as Punk Girl Coffee or Punk Bunny Coffee, but technically when it was called Oakland Coffee, looks like the album cover from Kerplunk and the t-shirts of Kerplunk. So this is Oakland Coffee from Green Day, and it came with their coffee that I bought, which I've been drinking and is delicious, by the way. Great.
Gotta say, that looks a lot like the artwork a friend of mine, Kat Kissick, does. I don't know if you've seen it. It's been stolen many times, but she did a piece of art that had the caption, "Roses are red, knowledge is power. Now go smash the patriarchy, you delicate flower." I bought my wife an original print of it, and unfortunately it's been stolen by many men, actually, which is what I find interesting. But if you go to katkissick.com, I believe you can get the original stuff. She also has a lot of cool body positivity things. There's another one that says, oh God, I forget what the slogan was, but it was Toot Toot, You Magical Unicorn, something, I don't know. I got my wife that one too, so. My wife was a big fan of the work. And that is it. Do we have anything else? We are through the departments.
Time for the meat, my friend.
Alrighty, let's go to the elevator, Mr. Tyler.
Now we're going all the way down to the depressing
Yeah.
level.
Oh God, all right. So, where did we leave off last week?
Sexual puns are not appropriate at this moment in the show, but you go right ahead, buddy. You do you.
I'm happily married, so I get to make them. Alrighty. Last week, where we left off, I believe, was London, at the most famous London club, Hammersmith Odeon. Whom do you know that recorded live records there, just off the top of your head?
Motorhead.
And another?
And Motorhead.
Oh, wait, I was going to say Black Sabbath, but no, they did not record there. They finished the tour there. There are live recordings from there, but it's not an album. But the Hammersmith Odeon in London is a very famous club. That is where Motorhead recorded their album No Sleep Till Hammersmith. And that was, I believe, September 15th. So what happens after that? Metallica goes to mainland Europe, and in September, the majority of our audience are Americans, and I think it's probably fair to say that right now in August, most of us are dealing with some pretty swamp-ass weather. Am I right? I was in Vegas this past weekend. It was 105, and if anybody tells you it's the humidity that gets you and a dry heat don't matter, slap them. 105 sucks. It wasn't as bad as 105 in Missouri, but still, it's still awful. And Europe, however, is a very different climate. What is farther north, Keefy? London or Montreal?
I'm going to say Montreal.
London. London is farther north than Montreal.
That's weird because I thought London is the same latitude as New York City.
No, it is not. It is definitely not.
Similar weather, no? Or maybe it's Boston.
The similar weather in London is because of the Gulf Stream, the Atlantic Gulf Stream. So, Copenhagen, Denmark. Are you familiar with that place? We mentioned that in this series.
I was there once. We have mentioned it in the series. It is the hometown of one Lars Ulrich.
Are you aware that Denmark qualifies as a Scandinavian country?
It does.
I did not know that until like last year. I thought to be in Scandinavia, you had to be not near Scandinavia, but actually in it. However, apparently proximity matters. So, what if you could describe Scandinavia in 2 words? What would that be?
Cold and icy.
That's 3. I would say icebox.
I mean cold.
I know.
Ice.
Oh, cold. No, that's that's cheating. Icebox, because it is an icebox. And in September, and this also counts for large swaths of Canada, inhabited Canada, not just the Inuit Canada, not just the Northwest Territories, but if you go to Saskatoon, if you go to Winnipeg, if you go to Calgary or Edmonton, which that is so messed up because Alberta is the only province where there's nothing near the border. Everything is farther north. I guess that's where all the oil is. But if you go to these cities in September, you're going to be facing very cold places. Saskatchewan, Winnipeg, they get snow in September. That's when winter starts for them. Their summer is real short, so Canadians go super hard on summer. So here we are. It's not even fall. No, actually, no. We're talking about the first day of fall. The first day of autumn. 1986. Metallica is touring Europe. They are on their first headlining world tour. They are in a rickety old bus. Because even though they're on Elektra Records, Elektra has yet to really open the checkbook for them. So, James can't sleep because his bunk is too drafty. So he is in the back of the bus drinking coffee because it's warm and it soothes his throat and he has to sing tomorrow. Lars wakes up and he sits back there with him. Before that, however, there was a drawing of cards. One bunk in the entire bus was okay, and that was Kirk's bunk. And for some reason, they decided to draw cards to see who wins. Kirk draws first. He draws like the Four of Hearts, and Cliff draws the Ace of Spades, the Death card. And he looks at Kirk and he smiles and he says, I'm taking your bunk.
I mean, the Ace of Spades wasn't the death card until this moment in history, let's be honest. The Ace of Spades is usually, you need the Ace of Spades for a four of a kind, for poker. I mean, it's a valuable card. Just this is the instance when it sucks.
Are you not familiar with the song by Motorhead?
Yeah, I'm well aware. It's like literally.
Does he not say the death card rules, or am I just thinking of the comic book I read?
I know he says it, but I don't know.
All right, there we go. May I continue? Marginally interrupted. Not uninterrupted. You can interrupt, but just marginally. So, Cliff takes Kirk's bunk. Apparently, Kirk is the only one blessed with a bunk on this bus in this horrible climate that doesn't suck, and he falls asleep immediately. And eventually, everybody finds their way into sleep. And then the unthinkable happens. The bus hits a patch of ice, so we're told, and rolls. Like in 48 hours, the bus flips over and rolls and rolls and rolls. And Cliff's bunk, which is now, what is now Cliff's bunk, is directly under a window on the top of the bus. And as soon as it rolls, it breaks. Cliff falls out, and the bus falls on top of him. I don't think it's inappropriate to say a lot of musicians have died over the years in travel accidents. You know, Stevie Ray Vaughn, which I did a vinyl check earlier, died in a helicopter crash. Richie Valens, Big Bopper, and Buddy Holly died in a plane crash. Randy Rhoads, who I'm wearing on a shirt, died in a plane crash.
Skinnerd.
I mean, the world is replete with this happening. Because when you're on the road, especially if you're on the road like a band like Metallica was at that time, Scott Ian once described them as the ultimate road dogs. We are talking about a band who, while they're selling platinum, is doing 300 dates in a year. And then they hit a phenomenon and they go on tour for 4 consecutive years. I mean, 4 years. Imagine 4 years away from your house. I can't even. I mean, I don't know how that works. But there are a few stories as ironic and as gruesome as this one, I don't think. So, Kirk Hammett describes it as he wakes up, feels like he was knocked out in the crash, and he hears everyone screaming besides Cliff. So they go out, everybody gets out, because it's the band, it's the roadies. We're not talking about a band that's, touring with 4 tour buses. This is the band and the crew all in one bus. And it was described as seeing Cliff's feet sticking out from under the bus, like the Wicked Witch of the Wicked Witch of the West. At which point the driver comes out and he starts trying to pull the blanket off of him, which enrages the band because they don't want him to be cold. I think at this point in time, they're still deeply in denial about what's happening, that this is just a fluke, it's fine, we're okay. And then they get a crane, and a crane shows up, and they pull up the bus to pull him out. And as soon as the crane gets up 8-9 inches, it breaks. and the bus falls on him again. So here we have James Hetfield, the oldest member of the band at this point, is 23 years old. Maybe 24. And I don't think it's inappropriate to say that none of these boys were men. I don't think it's fair to say any of them were adults. Here they are living this nomadic lifestyle where they are drinking themselves to death, having fun, on the road. They just finished 6 months with their idol, and now they're out doing their own thing. No shame, but they have not matured. They have not become adults. They have not become grown-ups. They have 2 women living in the Metallica mansion in Sausalito, California, with James Hetfield's checkbook, where I believe he signed all of the checks in the book.
El Cerrito.
El Cerrito?
Yeah, Sausalito is super nice and rich and cozy. El Cerrito is across the bay.
I apologize. Sausalito is where they recorded Load.
Yeah. I just had the best fish and chips of my life in Sausalito.
Really?
Yeah, phenomenal. It's on the way to Muir Woods, so it's beautiful.
My tuna steak, however, was quite phenomenal. So, all of a sudden, these 3
your
boys, tuna steak, did not have a tube steak boogie.
My bad.
Okay, look, I'm married. I'm flattered.
My body's in Texas, but my head's in Mississippi.
Oh, now we're doing ZZ Top. I know that
song. Continue.
All of a sudden, they are traumatized into adulthood. Or traumatized into a second childhood, however you want to look at it. So, I can't imagine what that would like. I mean, I'm 48 years old, and I have never seen anything like that. About 15 months ago, I saw a head-on collision driving into work. And that affected me so much, I had to go home. I was so freaked out by it, I had to go home and just sleep it off. And I didn't know these people. I don't know if anything happened to them. I saw another head-on collision in Buffalo, New York on the way home from Rochester. But to see my friend, my coworker, and if I could be so bold, the musical mentor of these 3 people die horrifically in a time when everything should have been wonderful. I have no idea how that would affect me. And James, in his underwear, forces the bus driver to show him the ice that they hit. They never found it. They go to, after everything is picked up, I guess for lack of a better term, they go to a hotel in Denmark, and James drinks himself into a stupor. He drinks himself till he could no longer feel feelings. At least he tried to drink himself. When he wanted to drink to the point where he couldn't feel anymore, because what he was feeling was so painful and so awful. Not only is it the death of his friend, the death of a mentor, is this the death of their dream? Without Cliff Burton, we are not talking about this band today. Without Cliff Burton, Metallica is no bigger than Exciter, no bigger than Diamond Head, not even as close, not even as well regarded as Venom. And I don't think I'm speaking out of turn. Cliff Burton buttressed James Hetfield. He was able to pick up the slack that James Hetfield on guitar could not do yet. Around Master of Puppets, and I said last week that Master of Puppets is really the only album from this band, because it's the only one written by these four guys and performed by these four guys. I know, there's some Dave Mustaine questionability.
I fucking hate this analogy. I wish you wouldn't make it again. God,
I'm gonna make it forever.
I hate it so much.
It's what makes this record so special. So we didn't get to see where this would blossom. And if I know that Cliff Burton is what made Metallica special, what made it so where Metallica could rise their head over the masses and be noticed, you're damn sure they know. You know, if one person was going, that's one of the most important, you know, how do you come back from this? And I think that's the moment they're looking in the mirror where we're not living a dream. We are living real life, and this real life got really dark really fast. And James is walking up and down the street screaming for Cliff to come home. Maybe he believed in that time that he drank himself so hard that it was all a dream. And I guarantee you he wished it was. And so they go home. Obviously, they can't finish the tour. They cancel the remaining dates of the European leg, and they go home. They go home to mourn. They go home to drink. And they go home to make a decision. That decision is, obviously, can Metallica continue? I'll turn it over to you now.
All right. Well, that was brutal. I'm glad I interjected some levity. Most bands would not continue without the talent of a guy like Cliff Burton. They literally moved to the Bay Area because of him. That was his only condition for coming into the band. You have to move to the Bay Area. And they were like, cool, FLA. You know, Lars is a nomad anyway, didn't care. James, a little more difficult. He was from there. You know, you can't imagine what it was to go through it. You can understand how they didn't know how to process their grief. There was no such thing as grief counseling back then, just Alcoholica. And, if they would have broken up at that point, you could have understood it and went on to other bands. You would have fully understood. But, they were already ascending to a level, as you said last week, that no underground band had ever done before in heavy metal. Where they
still has not done.
Still mainstream success for an underground genre of music for outsider fans and musicians. And, I think at the end of the day, if either James or Lars didn't want to continue, they would not have, but they did, thankfully. I think the death of Cliff shapes the entire rest of Metallica's career. Things that they've done, even as we're going to discuss in a second, the next thing they put out, literally, is part of their identity forever. This EP that is kind of overlooked in a lot of ways is woven into the fabric.
Not by me.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the songs or the performances. I'm talking about the choice of covers and the choice to do covers, EPs, and records later. And the fact that covers have an equal footing in this band, and always have, actually, since the beginning, have an equal footing to their originals, which is also kind of unheard of for most bands. So I will pick it up when they finally decide to continue. They have to audition bassists because they had tours booked for late 87. They didn't really they didn't I will can I may I
yeah
all right. If you're interested, beside Nick's gripping account of this thing, I highly recommend the Metallica Behind the Music. I think you can still see it on vh1.com.
Yeah, I had that going through my head when I was discussing it.
And on YouTube for sure. Someone's ripped it and put it up there. As well as the Murder in the Front Row and Get Thrashed documentaries that do spend quite a bit of time on Metallica and their history and Cliff. Murder in the Front Row has an interview with Cliff's girlfriend from back then. That was his, they were living together. He was like, start looking at houses for when I come back. And, she never heard from him again. They used to talk every day while he was on tour. Can you imagine how heartbreaking that is? And a whole friend group that he had were shattered. Like, Jason Newsted talks about reading in the newspaper. 27-year-old Metallica bassist Cliff Burton dies on a side of a road in Sweden.
24.
Sorry, 24. He was like, what? Right? He makes that face. I remember hearing about it in Musician magazine, which I was a reader of. Metallica mourns the loss of their bassist, Cliff Burton. I just became a fan of this band. How could this be? I mean, maybe like 2 years into my fandom. And we were all talking about it the next day in school.
And honestly, it's a pretty common occurrence, even that as soon as a band ascends, somebody dies.
Yeah, it does happen. So they consider 40 musicians to come in and play with them. And by the same account in the Behind the Music, James was
great account.
Brutal accounting of this. Guys would come in, nope, not you. Nope, not you. Nope, not you. Just brutal. Even friends of theirs. So
Les Claypool.
Les Claypool, a personal close friend of the band and James. He literally came in.
And Kirk
came in and he was like, hey, you guys want to play some Isley Brothers covers? And they were like,
fuck you, get out.
And I think they're kinder to him now. Like, I'm sure it was much meaner in person back then because they were just suffering, right? And not sober and heartbroken and all that. And, Les, clearly what Les evolved into from 87 to early first Primus records like 88, 89. And his whole style is like, he wouldn't work with Metallica. I'm not saying that Les can't play like a standard metal bass. He was in Blind Illusion, which is a great heavy metal thrash band. You should
Thank you.
Out.
That is the band. That album was produced by Kirk Hammett.
Exactly, yeah. And again, they're all friends.
And Larry Lalonde is on it too.
And Larry Lalonde is on it.
Have it on vinyl. Previous DMA subject.
Both of them were briefly members of Blind Illusion, Larry and Les. So 40 guys come in. Troy Gregory of Prong, the early Prong bassist before Paul Raven, who was phenomenal. Not him. And of course, they bring in Jason Newsted, who is affectionately called Jason New Kid by them, from Flotsam and Jetsam. Nick is not a big, well-acquainted fan of Flotsam and Jetsam. I, of course, am Flots till death. I'm a huge Flotsam and Jetsam fan. Jason co-wrote most of their first two albums along with Michael Gilbert, their teenage guitar player at the time. And
this is a great point for me to jump in real quick, since you brought up Flotsam and Jetsam already. Flotsam and Jetsam is actually the band that started my redheaded stepchild weirdness, my family of bands concept. I think I'm pretty much on record. I think everybody who listens to this podcast knows. For those of you that don't, if I love your band, I love everything everybody in your band has ever done. At least enough for me to buy it once. And yes, I did buy Doomsday for the Deceiver by Flotsam and Jetsam on CD from BMG Music, because they had it. Even though Vintage Vinyl said, good luck ever finding it. Well, I found it, you son of a bitch, in a book. Now I keep thinking about I'm going to buy it on vinyl, because it's been re-released 1,000 times for understandable reasons. And Jason Newsted was brought in partially because he was a writer. And
welcome. Thank you for making my, literally cementing the next thing I was going to say, but I'm glad you did, because it needs to be.
It needs to be said.
They liked him because he had a history of writing metal songs.
He
could come in and compose, and that's how they saw Cliff as an equal composer.
Right. He pulled the straight Roger Waters on Doomsday for the Deceiver. Jason wrote all the lyrics to Doomsday. He wrote probably 70% of the riffs. There is even a song on that record called Fade to Black, not a cover of What We Know, but there was, Jason was clearly influenced by Metallica on that record. So,
how could you not be? How could you not be moved from
completely
Michigan to Arizona to join that band? And so they settle on Jason, and they take him to a place called Tommy's Joint on Van Ness and Geary, down the block from the Regency Ballroom in San Francisco.
Is that still there? Is it still there?
I went to dinner
I wish
there.
I would have gone. I wish I would have thought to have gone when I was in San Francisco.
When you come back, you and I will go and do a Metallica thing there. And it's still there, and you can get a $15 corned beef sandwich with gravy, mashed potatoes, and beer. And that's where they took him. They like to go hang out there. It's a place metalheads now go because Metallica talked about it in the behind them. We took him to this place we like, Tommy's Joint.
And the rockumentary.
And James and Lars hung out. They hung out together with Kirk, and they went in the bathroom to piss. And he's like, "Is that the guy? I think that's the guy. Let's pick him. Let's tell him he's the guy." And they go back out and they tell him he's the guy. But then the problem is,
you left out a bit. At which point Jason jumps up and screams like a child who just got a Cupid doll.
Apparently he punched the ceiling and the fist print is still in the ceiling wood beam. But unfortunately for Jason, there's no therapy for these guys yet. And I don't want to talk about St. Anger, but like they needed the St. Anger therapist back in 87, not in 2003.
Oh my God, did they?
Because they didn't process their grief. And so
again, it's not just their friend dying while they weren't there.
No, it happened in front of them. It was horrendous and horrific, and they never grieved, and they went right back to work, basically.
Right. It's like three. That's like him dying. That's like him dying worse than 3 times.
Yeah, it literally didn't take a break. So
because if they took a break,
you mentioned it last week. You mentioned Cliff Amal, essential watching.
Completely.
To Cliff. You got to watch Cliff Amal. It's great.
If they had taken a break, they would have actually had to think and feel. And these are 23-year-old boys.
Yeah, we had the VHS of Cliff Amal. And
if you watched it on DVD, you did it wrong and you're a poser. No, it's fine. Whatever. I had it on VHS.
There's a lot of people who were not alive 35 years ago.
I know. I'm
there's a whole
teasing.
Metallica sells 6,000 records a week of just the Black Album. How much do you think they sell in total? It's probably like 10,000 total or 15,000.
That's crazy.
It's still mind-boggling. Physical copy, the value of physical copies. So, but the problem with Jason is they haze the shit out of him because they don't know how to just be friends with a guy, and they're resentful that their friend died, and here's this new guy. Idiosyncrasies they weren't used to.
Let me jump the story back a little bit before we get on to this, because this is a great topic, and I want to take it uninterrupted, but I don't want to miss this. Right now, we are talking about the back half of the Master of Puppets box set. And one of the greatest things about Metallica, if I could bring in some levity and some joy to this terrible, terrible situation. On the Metallica box set for Master of Puppets, it has Jason Newsted's audition tapes. So you can listen to 30 minutes of Jason Newsted of Flotsam and Jetsam playing with Metallica in order to join them. And one of the most amazing things about Metallica is they recorded everything. They're not like Kiss, who say, we've got every show recorded on video and then we go back and watch them. No, you don't. You have every show in Baltimore, every show in Houston, and every show in Los Angeles on tape because those places recorded them. You did not bring out tape recorders back in the 70s. Quit lying to me. Metallica, however, does have them. And there are several live shows in each box set, including Jason's audition tapes, which is just absolutely insane to me if you consider that for just a moment. That you can actually hear that. Unfortunately, I did not purchase the Metallica Master of Puppets box set, and I believe Keefy also has some FOMO of it now that we're seeing it for $1,000 in record stores. But yes, I just wanted to throw that in, and I will now return.
Yeah, so tough time in their life. Jason, moves to the Bay Area. They pick up the pieces and they start planning they pay these tributes to Cliff. They consider a covers EP, which I think they were probably going to do anyway. The covers EP has Misfits covers on it. That's clearly a nod to Cliff, who is the big Misfits fan of the whole group. Turn everybody
routinely wore the Fiend shirt on stage.
Routinely wore the Fiend shirt. Routinely had Fiend stickers on his stuff. Had a Fiend patch on his jacket. Everybody knows. So I don't know if you want to just because we can continue to kind of round and round this thing. When we talk about justice and we can talk about the further hazing of and mistreatment of Jason, but let's just jump into, on the plus side of this terrible tragedy. They did get Jason Newsted in the band. it does alter the course of their history forever because you just don't know. I think there's a lot of people for years and years saying that Cliff was the reason they were good or heavy is totally ingenuine and shitty. If anything, Cliff was the guy who was like, let's do instrumentals and ballads. Cliff was the guy pushing them to be more diverse. Cliff was the guy pushing them to do more rock and less progressive, 10-minute rhythm guitar solos. He was trying to push them into a more musical vein. If anything, the Black Album would have come sooner and not And Justice for All style music. That's my personal... I'm going to, pontificate on that for a second. That's my theory. You can debunk it if you like.
That is an interesting point. I don't know if that's true, but that's an interesting point.
It's an opinion. Know it's not a fact. I'm stating that's my theory.
I said opinion. I felt that Cliff is what made Metallica special. Cliff is what allowed them to rise above the din, made them better than Exodus, made them more interesting than Megadeth. Because Cliff was a very interesting sound, a very interesting personality, and he was able to teach the other members how to write. So in the 2 years that they were together with Cliff, leading up to Master of Puppets, he taught them about theory. He taught them about the circle of fifths. He taught them about harmonies. And each record he was on had more and more of it.
Fleming Rasmussen had to teach Lars how to keep time because he didn't know actually how to be a timekeeper as a drummer. But okay, anyway,
we don't
I'm
really
not going there. I love Lars. I always defend him, but I'm just pointing that out. How musically unschooled, except for Cliff, they were when they went into Ride, and by the end of Master, they're all masterful musicians. Yeah. No pun intended.
Okay, perfect, great example. Yes, if you listen to No Life Till Leather or No Life Till Leather 2 or Night of the Rivetheads or whatever Metallica demos you can get your hands on pre-Cliff Burton, if you listen to those, that's what they would have sounded like without Cliff. 100%. James would have evolved a little bit. His vocal style would have evolved a little bit. But again, we would not be talking about them without Burton. Period. And I don't know how you deal with that as human beings, frankly. But they found a way to get through it. Mostly by beating up on Jason Newsted.
Straight facts. But let's talk about a happier thing, which is the 598 EP Garage Days Revisited. This is constantly a misnomer is that it's called Garage Days Revisited. Garage Days Revisited is technically the EP.
It's side 2 of Creeping Death.
It's the side 2 of the Creeping Death single, which we did spend some time on in the Sue Ring episode. Please go back and listen to the Sue Ring episode.
Don't listen to me. Listen to Sue on that one.
She is a treasure.
She is a damn treasure. Now, yes, it is Garage Days Revisited. Name all the names.
So what?
It has 2 names.
The 598 EP.
And
Garage Days Revisited.
No. The 998 CD.
Oh, that's right. Well, that's later.
Is it?
Much later.
How much later?
Later enough.
I had it in 92.
Well, that's not that much 87.
Later. No, it's not 87. I did have a copy of this on cassette. My cassette copy of this was the first rare item I ever owned. And I think this is something we should point out before we get into the business here. For, 15 years almost, these recordings were lost. For 15 years, the only way you could purchase a copy of Last Caress was by buying Metallica Live Ship Binge and Purge. It wasn't until the 1999 release of Garage Incorporated, previous podcast subject, Garage Incorporated.
When you say lost, do you mean potentially obliterated by the band so they could put out other stuff with these songs on it in concert?
No, I don't mean that.
You don't think that's on purpose? I think it's
on purpose. I don't think they were smart enough.
I don't think anything. Metallica's like the X-Files. Chris Carter, producer and writer of the X-Files. Nothing's an accident. Everything's on purpose.
That's entirely possible. Entirely possible. But
and Lars is the cigarette smoking man. He's sitting there like, you know what, man?
Does he still smoke cigarettes?
Lars, I hope not. Shit.
Because he started in
Can't,
like
no,
the
he can't. He can't because like he literally changed his whole lifestyle to be
okay,
able to
fair
do
enough.
these few handful of tour dates.
Because I can remember when he started talking about, yeah, I smoke Camels now, which is like 2 years of him like going
Yeah, I
in front
can't.
of Starla.
I can't. Yeah, I hope not.
Anyway, so no, when I say lost, they did not. I mean, there were not multiple releases of this record.
No, they weren't. Yeah, yeah.
They released it on cassette, and then they released it on CD, and then they did not re-release it again. So when I had a copy of this on cassette in 1992, it was a rare release. It was hard to come by. And when I got a copy of the CD in '93, again, hard to come by.
They might have put it out in their fan can in the early '90s as a gift to fans, but fan club members that were paying at the time. But anyway, and now it's out on vinyl again, remastered and all that jazz.
I did not.
Garage Inc.
Right, I did not buy it because I have it on Garage Inc. I have a copy of Garage Inc. from Blackened Records, I believe. And frankly, it's amazing. It's fine. I don't
The
need to.
second that I saw this standalone EP on vinyl, the second I saw it, I was like, buy.
Did you get it on orange vinyl? Because they released it on orange vinyl.
I don't know, and I'd have to pull it out and look, but I don't think so.
Okay, you're gonna pull it out? You're gonna pull it out and show us? 5-1, baby.
Sir, stop
1 in 5.
Stop it, sir.
I gotta have
I saw
some
you
levity.
coming out of school that day.
Oh, Jesus H. Christ, monkey business.
Every time.
Didn't we ban that song?
Never in my life. It's in the Hall of Fame for me.
Cancel it. Cancel it.
They considered like 15, 20 different covers, and they just couldn't pull like some they knew, and some they couldn't muster, and some came up by accident, including "The Weight" by Killing Joke, which
I'm sorry. I thought you meant the cover of the record. Never mind.
no, so they record this basically at the El Cerrito house, like the last thing they ever do. Basically, with the death of Kirk, the death of Cliff, and the money they were starting to make, and they got houses, and they moved out of the house, and they kept the house to be their jam space because it made them feel like connected to their roots. But
I've heard them. It
it's
smells
still there.
like our old garage. It smells like Kill 'Em All.
Yeah, the house is still there. People live in that house. You can go in that house. Still, you can pay.
It's not owned by Metallica anymore.
No.
God, that you know what that house probably is a mansion now.
Into a museum. No, it is not. It's still the same house.
Yeah, but I mean, it's now like it's worth as much as a mansion now.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I know somebody that was living there, and it's still pretty beat up. It's a rundown house. El Cerrito is a middle class, working class town. It is not wealthy. It's not Walnut Creek. It's not Martinez. It's not Fairfield Sassoon, where I used to live. So Jason, who was also like a day laborer, knew how to soundproof, so they soundproofed the garage finally after years of playing there to go record this EP themselves with no real help. And they just kind of run the tape and run through the songs, and that's what you hear on the record. That's 25 minutes long.
And again, we have another Lars Ulrich vocal.
You love this little factoid. You love it so much.
How often do we get to hear Lars Ulrich? I mean, apart from when they were really drunk on the Black Album tour and they changed instruments for Am I Evil? How often do we get that?
That's true. Do you want to let's run through the track by track and wrap this puppy up?
All right, I am ready. This record starts off with the Small Hours. I'm sorry, Helpless. I apologize. Helpless. It is a Diamond Head song, Tatler and Harris. And once again, Metallica, and I don't think they realized it at this time or the first time, but Metallica has now paid the bills for Tatler and Harris for the rest of their lives. And we have the first of what should have been many bass solos by Jason Newsted on this track. This is a wonderful, none of these songs really are fast. These are all mid-tempo dirges. And, this was, and I think I discussed this in the Garage Inc. episode we did, but Garage Days Revisited, this was the album me and my best friend Nate listened to. This was our favorite back in the day. And part of it probably was, we were 15 years old and we had access to this secret knowledge that your average, especially at that time in 1992, 1991, when the Black Album is exploding. And everybody's like, I love Enter Sandman, and wherever I may roam, sure, these songs are bad, but I love them. Wherever I may roam is the worst song ever. That's what they said in my high school. That's what they said. I didn't make that up.
Your high school was wrong, and you're wrong. By the way, when I listened back to the Woodstock performance of Metallica, the biggest cheer
On
of the
vinyl?
night...
On vinyl?
No.
Eat your own blood. You have it on vinyl.
I do. The biggest cheer of the night is for Wherever I May Roam. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, because you know what? There's no fucking
500,000
grunge money.
people cheered.
There are no fucking grunge money hipster popular trend jumpers at Woodstock '94. That's for goddamn
My
sure.
favorite moment of the Metallica set at Woodstock '94 was Harvester of Sorrow, but that's my highlight.
My favorite would have been 2x4.
They didn't play it. It wasn't.
I know.
Yet.
They should have played it anyway.
So let's talk for a second and not lose the M track because we're at 116, 117.
Metallica deserves it. I'm fine with that.
Helpless, like Metallica loves Diamond Head so much. Not just that they help them. I'm going to disagree. I think Helpless, Crash Course in Brain Surgery, and the Green Hell part of Last Caress are very fast songs.
You know what? We should do a Diamond Head Chaser.
Maybe. I don't know. Lightning to Nations, I guess, would be the one to do. Great bass. There's a bass break in the middle of Helpless. That's right.
Solo is probably not the right term.
Yeah, it's like a break, and there's a little It's really good. It's really good. Sean Harris is a good bass player. Brian Tatler is a great riffer. You can hear where James get that choppy chop riffs from. Syncopated riffs.
Speaking of James playing guitar, we should mention this is the first guitar James played after breaking his arm.
He had played no guitar on most of that tour before.
He did not, however, help soundproof the garage because his arm was broken.
Yeah, good job.
As soon as that was done, though, however, James is ready to go.
Any other thoughts on how? I mean, I think this is the 4th or 5th Diamond Head cover they've done.
Second at this point.
At this point, but like in total, they've covered like 5 of them.
Have they? Is the Prince Diamond Head?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, that's at least 3 then.
I love that song.
That's a great song. Yeah.
It's
That's why I was so happy to get Garage Incorporated because I couldn't get all the goddamn B-sides.
There's 2 of them on there plus this one. So like,
I remember like popping champagnes of joy when that was released in 1999.
Me too. 98. I met them. I know. 98. November 11th, 1998. I was there.
I'm Keefy. I know dates.
I was in New York City at Virgin Records and met Metallica, and you didn't. Anyway.
I have, however, the one of those shows from that tour on vinyl.
But you have a wife and kid, and I don't. So like, you win in life, and I win in metal. It's fine. The next.
I don't know if you win in metal though.
Maybe not. The next song is The Small Hours. Do you have any thoughts about The Small Hours?
See, the thing is you may win, but you spend your Wednesdays with my dumb loser ass. So who's really winning?
I don't think you're a loser, but go ahead.
I know. I like to downgrade myself so people think, "Oh my God, he's so humble." I'm not humble. I'm narcissistic as fuck. Anyway, The Small Hours, another great song, and I mean, it starts off with that really cool dissonant, and then it just goes nuts. I thought around this time that I was going to name my thrash metal band Holocaust. And then I looked at the credits of this album, and I saw why I could not do that. But again, we have another long dirge, and I think people forget just how long-winded Metallica was for a long time. And if you look at this, we're talking about songs from the late 70s, early 80s. I don't know when specifically they were written. And we're looking at 7-minute songs basically here. That's what they cut their teeth on. And then you look at Black Sabbath, and Black Sabbath's first song is 8 minutes. And yeah, so they come by their long-windedness pretty naturally. Another great song. I'll leave it at that.
Another band with epic long songs that Nick does not like is Typo Negative.
Fuck them.
And we're gonna do a whole.
No, we're not.
Negative. Yeah, we are.
Maybe only if you do it without a shirt on.
Maybe the next series will be.
If you do it without a shirt on.
Do the truffle shuffle right now. You have no idea. Love Typo Negative. Don't spill the beer.
Jesus.
I can't though. It's embarrassing.
I am gonna cough up a lung.
I don't even like to get undressed to take a shower. Anyway, I didn't know that Holocaust has like 20 releases, including
Are you serious? Really?
EPs, and they made like 9 albums, including an album in 2019. I seem to remember this being like the hardest song to find the original of. You can find it now on thanks to YouTube.
Well, I mean, it's a different day. It's a different day.
It's a pretty good. What are your thoughts? So, we heard a little bit of Jason, and there's not a lot of guitar solos on this. I do think this is the first time Kirk ever played his own rhythms, except for
I believe he does play rhythm on this.
Die by My Hand, which is his riff. I don't think he ever played his own rhythm ever.
No, he didn't. He didn't start playing rhythm for real until Load.
Right.
And I think, and that's one of the things about
he definitely played.
He didn't play rhythm on Black Album.
He wrote the Enter Sandman riff, and he wrote the Nothing Else Matters intro. So those
he didn't play them. He wrote them.
He played them.
He didn't.
Yeah, he did. I don't like. It's a good song. I like the drum parts. Again, this whole thing sounds very rough, like not mastered.
It's completely rough, and and I know you and I will never see eye to eye on Lulu because you're wrong, and that's fine. I still appreciate you. Said what I said. Do you know how long it took him to record Lulu?
I don't even want to know.
10 days. How long did it take to record this record?
I don't know.
6 days.
Yeah, that's different times.
My favorite My favorite Metallica is when they just go into the studio and jam it out, play it, get it done. And that's one of the things about Lulu I love is because it's a spiritual successor to this album. I know. I
was asked by a mental health professional on the phone today if I ever have thoughts of unaliving myself. And I answered no. But the truth is, I do every time you mention Lulu. Anyway.
Alrighty. Okay, so when I listen to Ool Ool by Ool Deer and Atalamerm, I get vibes of this album.
This suddenly devolved into a Star Trek: The Next Generation episode. Meet me on the holodeck where I'll waterboard myself and listen to it. So The Small Hour is solid. It's a very long song.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the least remarkable song on here, but it is a good
I was
song.
going to say similar things.
I wouldn't go listen to it outside of this, even though I've listened to all the other songs on here outside of this.
It is probably the worst song on this album.
I don't want to say worst. They're all about the same 7, except for Last Caress to me, but like...
No, I disagree. Helpless, The Wait, and Crash Course are 10s.
Okay. Well, I have a lot of thoughts on The Wait, so let's move along to The Wait. So The Wait is the next song.
Move Along Home, second chap.
Apparently, by accident, because Kirk was getting bored trying to play some other random, obscure heavy metal song, new wave of British heavy metal song that Lars knew, and he starts playing the incredible chopping riff of The Wait. I was already a Killing Joke song when this EP came out, so I knew Killing Joke's 80s, which Nirvana famously ripped off for Come As You Are, and a bunch of other Killing Joke songs. And then
it's not fair to say people rip stuff off. I mean, let's stop that as humans.
If you want to,
unless we're talking about people we don't like.
No, I like Nirvana.
I know, so we shouldn't say they ripped it off. They were inspired by.
It's a direct, blatant note for no ripoff. Stairway to Heaven is not a ripoff of whatever Randy California song. It isn't a ripoff of that song.
They can eat their own butt.
They have the same chord progression. It's not about that. No, I'm not going to just blindly defend Led Zeppelin. Even
I will.
They've been my favorite band for a long time. Not now, but like, no, they. You can't trademark or copyright a chord progression. There's been a jillion songs with that descending chord progression.
Hey, it's like Dave Pirner said when he was asked to do a Neil Young song. Yeah. We already know that chord progression.
80s by Killing Joke, chord progression. Do 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 do. Come As You Are by Nirvana. Do 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 do. It's the same notes in the same key. That is a ripoff. It's a ripoff, man. Anyway, The Wait is a killer song, and we just lost Geordie Walker, who passed away late last year.
Love the name Geordie, by the way. Just
Geordie. Period. Well, Geordie, it's like a name and an adjective if you're British at the same time. It's a
name and a nationality.
A bit, yeah, isn't it? Maybe is it an ethnicity? It's not an ethnicity.
Also, a previous podcast subject, Geordie, featuring Brian Johnson, was a band.
Right. So The Wait rules. Under 5 minutes.
Yeah,
It
completely.
almost sounds like thrash metal. I think
Yes,
Metallica
it's the
juiced it up. If you ever heard the originals, a little slower and a little more alternative rock. And this is like straight up, not quite thrash, like mid-tempo heavy metal. And
completely at
and,
the right tempo.
yeah, well, the right tempo for Metallica.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this song is perfection. I love this song.
And I think actually the Wait chorus, as we know it in the Metallica version, doesn't quite exist the same way in the original. It's like slightly different.
Well, that's what Metallica did really well is they covered songs, even though they were largely faithful, it didn't sound like anybody but Metallica.
That is completely accurate.
And that's, to me, that's the mark of a great cover. When I can listen to your cover and hear both artists.
Yeah, you can make it your own, then it's yours. The next track, I guess I'm continuing. I'm just going to continue leading the track by track. Is
All right, you can take over.
Arguably the second best song on here. Another band Metallica absolutely loves is Budgie. And you know Budgie best because of Bread Fan, which they opened with. It was like 99.
Great song.
The
Great
whole
song.
90s Metallica opened
When
with
I
Bread
saw them
Fan.
in '98, they also opened with they opened with Bread Fan.
Here's another band that ripped off this song because Flea loves this cover by Metallica, and so when they wrote Warped to open the One Hot Minute album with Dave Navarro, it's the same opening.
Great record.
It's the same
But it's
notes.
warping me. Oh my God, you are making. Let's not talk about that record because that
Totally gets
record
so
is
wrecked.
that record is depression in a bottle, and it's already kind of a sad episode.
My friends are so depressed. Anyway, Crash Course in Brain Surgery opens with the incredible
This
rolling
is
bass line by Jason Newsted. Go ahead.
this is the song that makes next week such a disappointment.
You love that record, though.
I do.
But it's still disappointing. It's a disappointment for other reasons.
Right. This Crash Course in
wish
Brain Surgery is when it is Jason Newsted's finest moment, including everything he don't.
He co-wrote the riff to.
Don't give me that De Niro. Don't give me that De Niro face.
He wrote a whole.
little bit.
He wrote a whole riff in Blackened, and I Love My Friend of Misery and King Nothing. But okay,
Yeah, I know, but you know what? It's this performance in this song.
Yeah, it's muscular.
This is Jason Newsted's finest recorded moment, and that I'm going to include that with Doomsday for the Deceiver. What's the song? Thunderhead, Thunderstruck, something. Thunderhead. Thank you. Man, my God, he stole from Rush and Metallica on that record. Dude, get your own thing. Well, I'm sorry, he was 19. He doesn't have your own thing at 19. Nobody does. So this is the song where if you listen to this contemporarily in 1986, 1987, you're like, holy shit, this is amazing. This guy is a spiritual successor to Cliff with a more of a modern edge. I can't wait to hear the bass on the next full-length record. I can't wait for him to write.
I can't wait to quote Rex Brown when he says, "I can't wait to get back on the road."
What?
Anyway, Pantera.
Did we do
reference.
Pantera? We should.
Yeah, we haven't, but well, I don't know. Maybe we should. I don't know. We should have did it before the reunion started. That would have been smarter. But so yeah,
also, this song was featured in Year and a Half in Life Metallica when Jason was warming up for the Freddie Mercury concert. Previous podcast subject, Freddie Mercury of Queen.
Yeah, fair enough.
My God, everyone's a previous podcast subject. You're a previous podcast subject. You're a previous podcast subject.
You get a podcast. You get a podcast. We're getting there.
We're pushing two bills, bro.
We're going to announce the next series next week, and Nick is going to hate it.
Oh my God, do I gotta?
I'm going to give you a series of choices, and they're all
Jesus.
for you. They're
Jesus
bad for
Christ.
you and good for me. So you're just going to have to pick the worst, least evil for you.
I'm going to quote my greatest famous director of all time, Stanley Kubrick. It's a big shit sandwich, and we all got to take a bite.
Sometimes you got to just take a big bite. And then the final masterpiece of the album, of the EP, the masterpiece, maybe the best cover they've ever done. I know people love...
The first half, yeah.
They love Whiskey in the Jar, and they love Am I Evil?
I do love that one.
And I love Astronomy.
Astronomy, amazing.
I'm the only one who loves the Motorhead covers and other
I hate
things.
those. Hate.
And I like
you know what? I have those on
King
vinyl.
Diamond.
I don't listen to them.
the portamento, the mashup of two
Portmanteau.
whatever two
No, not whatever.
port wine cheese,
Port wine cheese.
Last Caress,
Port
of
wine
Green
birthmark.
Hell, clearly a tribute to Cliff, whose love of Misfits is
Agreed.
Everlasting, and they love Danzig. At this time, Danzig has Samhain, and Danzig 1 has yet to come out.
Well, hang on. Did he pronounce it Samhain or Samhain?
I think proper pronunciation.
I know what the I didn't ask you what the proper pronunciation. I know what the word is. What did he say?
I never heard him say it, but he probably called it Samhain because he's from New
I'm
Jersey.
going to call it Samhain.
And before he lived in L.A., he lived in Baltimore for a while. So he probably called it
Lived
Samhain.
in Baltimore?
He did. I call it Samhain.
Jesus Christ. Well, apparently what I don't know about Glenn Danzig, you could just about squeeze in the Grand fucking Canyon.
Speaking of vinyl, they put. I think I talked about it last week. They're putting out those 2 songs from The Hangover on a limited vinyl right now. I would like to get
singles. Yeah, eat your own butt.
Well, I'm
sorry. I'm not buying your $25
if
singles.
I could truffle shuffle with
if I could turn back time.
If I could truffle shuffle with confidence on camera, I would. And if I could eat my own butt, I would just for you. Last Caress and Green Hell.
2 things I want to say about this particular track.
Yeah, go ahead.
As you and I both know, it is 2 songs on 1 track. What the fudge is all that about? Seriously, Metallica does not play both songs.
They have played each, but never both. Once I think they have played one.
So they have played Green Hell. You're sure?
I know this. Yes.
I mean, now I am a major, super, uber veteran of Metallica shows. I've seen 5. And they've played, I think, Last Caress on most of them.
I saw 43.
Eat your own butt. No, this isn't about you. It's about me.
I have seen more.
I live in St. Louis, Mr. Coastal Elite, Mr. West Coast Coastal Elite.
It's true.
West Coast. You're a West Coaster.
The least coast. The NFC.
West, no,
the NFC least.
West with a dub.
Like Diane Weist from Lost Boys. Anyway,
you remember people's names from Lost Boys? That's amazing.
I mean, I have a backpack. I have a battle vest patch of the Lost Boys.
Not
movie.
touching that. I'm not going anywhere near that. Anyway,
Bill and
so
Ted, Lost Boys. Anyway, yeah. Last.
May I make my stupid point that's pointless?
Stop sidetracking and make your point.
You're sidetracking. Come on, Darvo. Your new name is Darvo. We done gaslighting? We done gaslighting, Nick?
Go ahead.
All right. What the fuck was I doing?
Talk about these 2 songs.
Oh, yeah. So I think it's ridiculous they've never played them both back to back. Like, why did you put them on 1 track if you're not playing them at the same time? The second thing was, I believe I've talked about WLCA 89.9, the college radio station I listened to in high school, the Mosh, and the DJ who was the lead singer of Cottonmouth, one St. Patrick's Day. He's like, if you call in and tell me who sang every song with the word green in it, you call when you hear a song with green, and I'll give you a tape, a Cottonmouth tape. So he played Metallica, Last Caress, followed by, and that motherfucker, Misfits, Green Hell.
Fair enough.
He got me. He got me.
Fair enough. He got you. Last Caresses, as a humongous Misfits fan, which I was already a Misfits fan when this came out, because New York.
You want to talk about the concept of offensive for the sake of offensive?
Last Caress is like the most offensive Glenn Danzig lyric in his entire history.
Completely, totally.
On purpose, like
he's almost, like straight up Lost Prophet stuff going on in this one.
Oh, well, I wish you wouldn't have said that, but I think he is parodying Southern California punk.
I read about them on BuzzFeed today, so they're in my brain.
You shouldn't have. He is parodying probably Circle Jerks or Vandals. Glenn, when he wrote this.
You know far more about this genre of music than I do.
So, Last Caress is insanely catchy and maybe even responsible for James becoming a better
Unfortunately singer. Catchy.
Super catchy. Yeah, well, I mean, like, sweet, lovely death. I'm waiting. You know, I'm like, the chorus is great.
Sweet love's caress.
That's it. Thanks. Come sweet death, one last caress. Anyway, it's very catchy.
That's you know what? That's a great line.
It is I mean, Glenn is a genius. I don't know.
And I have no idea what the words to Green Hell are.
Tell me one other person that has been in 3 legendary bands. I don't. Maybe
he's been in 2 legendary bands. Sam Hain does not count as legendary. I love them. It's my favorite. However, they are not icons.
So here, I disagree. Here's the thing.
I said it.
Here's the thing, though. Green Hell has the better riff The main riff of Green
Yeah,
Hell
it's got a great
is
riff.
metal as
Does Last Caress even have a riff?
I mean, it's got a punk riff. It's punk.
Like a riff or
I mean,
in your head? Do you hear it in your head?
Yeah, it's the chorus. Of the
I
song.
cannot.
The melody of the song is the riff.
I only hear James's lyrics. I only hear James's vocals.
Green Hell has a great riff. And
Oh, yeah, that's a riff.
And even a kind of classic Danzig whoa whoa sing along. Oh.
That's got a sweet ass thrash riff.
Thrash riff and a punk chorus sing along. I mean, you can't do better.
You could, but I'm not gonna.
You really can't. So this is a great. Like, is it great on its own?
Yes.
I think it's fun, and like I said, unfortunately,
what makes it great is it's a snapshot of a band in transition. Because, we have Master of Puppets, which I believe we both said that was a 10 of 10, number 1, Duke of New York. Probably the best Metallica record front to back. Then you have And Justice for All, which a lot of other people would say the exact same thing. We'll discuss it more next week with our guest. I'm going to leave it alone for now. But between those two things, you have this wacky EP of wacky covers. The only way this could have gone a little bit more insane-y is if they had popped in We Care a Lot by Faith No More, which they were big fans of, so I'm kind of surprised they didn't throw a Faith No More track in there.
Fans of. I don't really think I want a Metallica cover of Faith No More. They're not funky enough to.
I don't know that I don't want one. I don't know until I hear it.
I would say that with Robert Trujillo, they have an outside shot of maybe.
Yeah, Robert Trujillo's funky as shit.
But I don't think Lars and James are funky enough to.
No, they're really white. I mean,
and
Lars
I don't want James rapping, so not We Care a Lot. Probably something from The Real Thing. Or, I know that Jim
Falling to Pieces
former podcast subject Faith No More. I think maybe not Falling to Pieces, but maybe something from
War Pigs. They could cover Faith No More's cover of War Pigs. No,
thank you.
I would like that. I wouldn't because it's the exact same. It'd be the exact same song.
I think something else, but not maybe Malpractice.
Falling to Pieces or what was it? Out of Nowhere.
From Out of Nowhere is great.
From Out of Nowhere, yeah, that'd be a good one.
I need to do From Out of Nowhere at karaoke next week. So that's the EP. Why don't you wrap up this whole episode and take us home, because it's your turn, and I'm going to say almost nothing else.
Almost Heroes? Is there a Metallica song with almost in it that I just can't remember?
I think you're thinking of Megadeth.
Oh, shit. That's like Metallica. It's like half
Almost
Metallica.
Honest. No, it isn't.
It's like Metallica. Anyway, so what I was saying was
Megallica.
Metallica. It's Metallica.
Metallica. Well, we're never gonna get Metallica because Lars messed that up. Go ahead.
I know, right? So what we have here is we have a failure to communicate, because Metallica, the three members of Metallica, were not communicating to each other. They were not communicating with themselves. They were drinking a Band-Aid. That Band-Aid becomes Garage Days Revisited. And we have a snapshot, a recording, a live look-in, if you like hockey, of a band in transition. And what should have been a small musical, no disrespect to any human beings or any souls or whatever, what should have been kind of a small bump in the road becomes a quick, hard right turn. But in the moment, we have four guys playing songs they love, having a good time, drinking, carousing, and allowing us to sit down with them and hear their joy. And that's what I love about this record. As I have said many times when I talk about Ool, Deer, and Samalamum, Ool record that I have on vinyl. What I love most about Metallica is not the over-processed, the over-produced, the uber-perfect And Justice for All, but it's the rough-edged Garage Days Revisited, and even the rough-edged Garage Incorporated. That's what I love about a later record where they collaborate with a legend. I love a different Metallica than most people love. And this is probably the first real glimpse of that Metallica where they're in a room and they're having fun. They don't do that much in the studio. And that's why I love this record. That's why this that's why this extended play is probably about a good 9.5 out of 10 for me. Loses a little bit on the small hours because it's a little too similar to Helpless. But other than that, I have had this in my hands for many years. I have had original copies from the 80s and 90s. And I'm glad I had it. And it definitely took me on my path as a music listener, as a music consumer, to buy the rare records, to seek out every note played by a band you love. So it is a very important, it is a very important release in my personal history. Not just do I love it, but here we see an alternative version of Metallica. We don't get it again. This is the last bass-heavy Metallica.
That's true. Here's a fun, apropos of nothing segue.
Sound of Fury?
And then I'll let you take it home. Nope. I started rewatching Sopranos, and there's an episode late in season 1 where there's Tony's in therapy and he's flashing back to his parents having an argument when he's a little boy, and he's like, I want to go to Reno. We got this opportunity, and she was like, I'd rather die than go to Reno, and he's like, you're like an albacore around my neck. And Nick, you are the albacore around my neck, but I still love you.
That is really harsh.
Take us home.
Well, I'm sad because apparently I am a disgusting tuna fish. Although I did make a delicious tuna steak today, so maybe I'm not that disgusting. But on top of that, Peoria has made consistent strides in developing penicillin for mass usage. As we say every week, this is the Glacially Musical Podcast. It does not play in Peoria, but apparently gonorrhea does.
Holy shit.